You're welcome back. It's still Midday Live, and Send Ghana has urged government to sufficiently improve access to quality of education and increase funding to special schools and non-formal education. In its preliminary review of the 2016 budget, Send Ghana underscored the need for improved investment in the agricultural sector for the economy in light of persistent decline in the growth of the sector in the past 3 years. On anti-corruption, Send Ghana lamented the paucity of resources for state institutions charged with the responsibility of fighting corruption. So these and many others have come up in their report on the budget, and this afternoon I do have in the studio Clara Osei-Boateng, Send Ghana's Director of Policy Advocacy. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Very well, this is not the very first time that Send Ghana has come up with such a report, and not only Send Ghana but several other societies come up with such reports on the economy without any results from government side. Is this worrying?
Well, I wouldn't say that there hasn't been any result at all. Perhaps we can say that it's not to our expectation. There are a number of issues that we've commented on that government have responded. For instance, recently we launched a research report on the NHIS titled How Poor is the NHIS. Basically, the research looked at whether or not the poor are accessing healthcare through NHIS. And then subsequent to that, the NHIS sent a team to us to consult with us as they are undergoing a review of the NHIS. So to some extent, we get responses from government.
But is this encouraging?
But then, we would expect more from government, especially at the national level. I must say that we get a lot of cooperation at the local level than the national level. And so we would expect that we will get much more cooperation from government.
What could be the reason?
Oftentimes, even getting to meet with the national level stakeholders is quite difficult. If you get to meet them, you don't get to meet the people in decision making. And so I'll go and tell my boss kind of responses we always get. But at the district level, we are able to engage with the leadership, and most of the time we get much more results there than at the national level. Now,
civil society is a powerful channel and tool globally. And like you said, yes, although you're getting some results here and there, it can be better. Now, as a society, how do you think that you can get government to listen, heed, and even respond to majority of the outcomes you have?
I think that for us, our strategy has always been consultation, collaboration. We don't approve of confrontational approach. And so we will continue to dialogue with government. And so we will use every opportunity to appeal to government to be more open and willing to listen to civil society. Because one important thing about participation is that when you give citizens the opportunity to participate in decision making, and at the end of the day, you do not take on board their suggestions, and then eventually you are not encouraging them to do that. Ghana is signatory to a lot of agreements, conventions, what have you. We are part of the open budget, partnership, open budget government initiative. And so we expect that government will be more open, especially access to data. One of the struggles we go through every day is when you are asking for information to be able to do your analysis and have an informed position to engage government with. It takes a lot of time to be able to assess the data.
Now, let's take agriculture, for example, where you touched on gap on investments, and several persons or institutions have had their take that we should go PPP, we should look at pure government investment. But from what you found out, what would be a possible way out?
I think that the growth rates in 2015 is indicative that not much was done to boost growth in the agriculture sector. I mean, 0.04 is almost zero, which means that the agriculture sector didn't grow. And that's the sector that feeds us, and a lot of people are employed in the sector. And so in as much as we believe that PPP will boost growth in every sector, we think that certain roles of government cannot be relegated to any other institution, and therefore government will have to commit to doing what is expected to do. And then the other bodies like private sector, civil society, we will complement what government does. But essentially, it is government's responsibility to lead growth in every sector in this
Now,
country.
quickly, what's trending now is the Transparency International report on corruption. And in your report here too, you did touch on strengthening institutions like SHRAJ and giving them full budgetary allocations and all. When you go out, now we're talking about some 76% of Ghanaians seeing corruption as growing. Is this really a reality on the ground when you also did yours or similar ones that you've done?
I think I haven't read the Transparency International report, but I've heard it on radio stations being discussed yesterday and this morning. And I think that it's a reflection of what Ghanaians, this is why it's perception, it's a reflection of what Ghanaians think and what Ghanaians believe, especially in the recent scandal in the judiciary services. Ghanaians have always believed, previous corruption perception surveys have always put Ghana high, as most people believe that there's corruption in the system, and people have expressed concerns about it. So I think it's a reflection of what Ghanaians feel, Ghanaians believe is happening now, and experiences that people have gone through. For us, we are, as we've always said, I think that we can combat corruption as a nation if we equip anti-corruption institutions to be able to do their work, because when people know that when they do wrong they will be punished, they will do the right thing. But then when people do and they don't get punished, or even when one issue we have in Ghana is that even citizens do not report corrupt practices when they witness them, and that is also the result of the fact that they don't believe that the institutions will work, and therefore they don't want to waste their time. So if government strengthens institutions, citizens' confidence will be boosted, they will report, and then people who engage in corrupt practices will be dealt with.
Thank you very much for your time, Clara Osei-Boateng. She's with Send Ghana, and she's a policy director of policy advocacy. Rather, we're looking at their reports and comments on the budget.